the suffering has become status. It's the status quo now. That's what we feel like the industry is. We brag about those grind hours, right?
Yep.
Because we think pain proves worth.
Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This week, we have Chris Cooper back. If you didn't hear us last week, we were talking about how structure leads to peace, not rigidity. How building structure in your business is really a powerful way to get your time back and to give you that peace deep down inside. So if you didn't listen to that episode, I suggest going back and taking a listen. But this week, we're going to focus on one of the big fundamental problems in our industry and contracting in general. It's burning out. I mean, right now, it's November. And man, by the end of the year, we're just sliding into the end of the year on fumes. It's just a lot of guys in this industry are just burning the candle at both ends. And it's just about time to maybe hang their hat up for a little while around the holidays. But I'd love to dig in here, Chris, and discuss what you found about over time with burnout and how contractors are handling it and maybe some better ways that guys can live a more peaceful, fulfilled life. So Chris, welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So burnout. Take us for a walk, Chris. What do you know about burnout when it comes to the industry? And, what have you heard and what can we do to help solve this problem?
Well, burnout has become a hallmark of our industry, I feel like, especially this time of year, right? Here we are. It's November 11th. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there, by the way.
Amen. Yes.
So, here we are, mid-November-ish. We're done. We're spent. We're cooked. We are trashed. We are looking forward to the break for those of us that are in cool weather climates. The warm weather guys are still going at it, but even they calm down in the winter months. There's a little less going on. It gives you time to regroup, and it just, you get used to it. Springtime, it becomes 100 days of hell again, It's just, and then it smooths out for a little bit and it ramps up again in the fall. It's chaos again. You get done at the end. If you do snow removal, you got chaos sprinkled throughout the year, but it's not about the work really. I mean, it is, but it isn't, right? So burnout doesn't come from working too hard. It really comes from work that's misaligned, right? So like when effort stops connecting to purpose, exhaustion becomes emptiness, right? Like you've got no purpose. So now you're tired, and to what end?
Yeah.
Like I can't see anything positive about what I'm doing here. I'm just exhausted. What am I doing? What's my purpose? And that ought to be a deeper question than, again, we could talk about that later, right? Most contractors aren't tired of landscaping. That's not what they've burned out on, right? They're tired of the weight of doing it all alone. We touched on this a little bit last session. This time around, we'll talk a little bit more about it. As men, we don't talk about struggles, failures, mental health, how we're actually doing in life. We don't ask for help. We place ourselves on these islands of solitude, and we convince ourselves that nobody understands just how hard I'm working, just how bad I've got it right now. The reality is that you're not alone, right? I mean, you have friends in a support network. You also have God. There are many different ways that you can find your peace, and it can be so peaceful. This is a great industry. We just have to let it be great,
Yeah. I agree. And, it's, as men, we have this deep, I'm going to speak for myself, but for years it was this deep pride and ego about having to do it all myself. Because if I did it myself, and I could take all the accolades for the win and then have to bear the whole burden of the loss too. Right. And just, and as I started to mature and grow and God started to, have more space in my heart because I let him in more, he started to help me realize that it's never been about me. And that really helped open that chasm up and realize that I didn't have to be an island. I didn't have to do it all alone and shoulder all the weight, that I could talk to other men, that I could open up, I could share the struggles I'm going with. Because you know what, Chris? Most of us are going through the exact same
thing, right?
Same thing.
I guarantee you, if I told the sordid details of the story that I've got, there would be somebody out there that has that same story. And there's peace in knowing that, right? And
Yeah,
there's
there is.
also peace in the connection. We are designed to be connected to each other. We
Yeah,
don't want to be islands, man. We want to be connected to each other. We want to be sharing this stuff. We want to lift each other up.
exactly.
That's how we get better as humans. It's
You
also
do.
how we make the industry better.
That's right. That's
I've
right.
said it for years. We just have to work together. Even in the same town, there's enough work in this town for all of us. We just need to work together to make the industry better, make ourselves better.
That's right. That's right. That's just something that I didn't realize in the early days. I thought all the problems that I had, the challenges and struggles that I faced were mine because of my either incompetence, I didn't know something, or I didn't have the skill set yet, or any of these things. But I would keep all that really close to my heart because if I told anybody, I'd be afraid I'd get judged or looked at like I'm weak. So I would keep that really, really close. And I know when I finally started to open up to other men about this, specifically in the industry when I was in the younger years, all of a sudden they're raising their hand too. They're like, yeah, man, like, I don't know how I'm going to make payroll this week. I'm like, I thought I was a complete fuck up.
Yep.
I thought I was the reason why that didn't happen, or I
Yep.
don't know how I'm going to pay for this, or I'm going to have to pay for that, or I don't have guys that are showing up, and how am I going to, I got these projects sold, or I have no work in the pipeline. What am I going to do? I must be a failure. It's like all of this head trash that was going on a daily basis. I mean, I had a black belt and kicking my own ass. It was that simple, like every single day. And I didn't realize until I opened up to others. They raised their hand. They're like, yeah, me too. I got the same problem. I'm struggling to do this or struggle to do that, or I was never educated or never went to school for, or, all these limiting beliefs in our head. And like, hey, how do we solve that problem?
Well, and then, how did it become a badge, right? Like when you talk to somebody, it's like, you're like puffing yourself up and saying things like, man, I'm just grinding, I'm just out there getting after it. It just,
Yeah.
man, it's chaotic, it's nuts, but boy, the industry,
Yeah.
but the suffering has become status. It's the status quo now. So that's what we feel like the industry is. We brag about those grind hours, right?
Yeah.
Because we think pain proves worth.
Yeah. That's true. Or hours, right? I did 90 hours last week, and I'm like,
90
and
hours. I put in 100 hours a week,
yeah. And
Hey,
I'm like, does your
go ahead.
bank account represent that? I mean, not that
Right.
that's the only target, of course, but it's like if you're grinding like that and you find joy in that and you're getting the result that you're after, right? The outcome and the result are lining up that you're looking for, well, then go for it. But oftentimes, I know my story was I was grinding harder so I didn't fail. I was more afraid of others judging me if the whole business thing fell apart, because
Oh,
we all
yeah.
know that we're just inches away at any moment from having to
Mhm.
close the doors, right? It's really very, very like every day it's always like, yeah, all it takes is one major mess up on a project. It could cost us 20 or 50,000, and that would put me into negative, and I'd be out of business. I don't know where I'd get the money. Right.
Right.
So it's like, you're always running on that stress level of failure is just one step in the wrong direction. And I don't know what I'm really doing. I'm just kind of trying to do as much good as I can and less bad, but that changes daily. And then it's just a stress that is carried each and every day just to do this stuff. And that's the part where really the burnout, to your point, pain without meaning is suffering, right? Once we
Yeah.
know what the
Right.
meaning is, if we're like, hey, this is painful right now, I'm really working my tail off, but I know we're making money, and I know by the end of the month we'll be able to do this, and I know I'll be able to do that, then it has meaning. And then your burnout doesn't happen as often, right? That suffering, the needless suffering doesn't
And
happen.
I am not immune to the fact that sometimes, just bad things happen,
Yeah.
right? I heard a very wise person once say that God never wastes a hurt, so that acknowledges that there's going to be hurt in the world, right? And, here's something to think about. I also heard it said once that burnout is just unprocessed emotion disguised as productivity.
Yeah. Well, I see that.
There's a self-reflective question for all the
Mm,
listeners to ask in the mirror, because we're all overthinkers too, right? It
yeah.
comes with the attention deficit.
Yep.
We all overthink everything.
Yep.
Men too, because we're supposed to be strong, right?
Yep.
So we gotta keep it all on ourselves, right? But that whole pain, I mean, it costs us relationships, marriages, friendships, joy.
100%.
No
Yep.
profit margin will pay that bill.
Nope. And so often we major in minor things. You've heard that
Yeah,
saying before, right? It's like I was busy all day. I got so much stuff done, but did it move the needle on your goals at all? Or
right.
did you just get all your emails done and really your secretary could have done most of that? Or half of that stuff
Mhm.
didn't even need your time, or you wasted a whole day doing it so you felt like something got done, but you really did get it. And you know it. Hey, I'm guilty too. I'm not sitting here throwing rocks in a glass house. I've done that many times. Like at the end of the day, and I'm like, wow, I had such a busy day. And I looked at him like, none of my initiatives moved ahead, but I stayed busy and felt like I got something done today. That's majoring in minor things. And that's where a lot of burnout comes from because you know what you're supposed to be doing. You just never get there because you really don't
Well, and
want
that's
to.
part of that time block into the schedule, right?
Yeah,
Because now
true.
if you don't time block your schedule so that you're being intentional about it, now your schedule's running you.
Yeah,
And you've got all that wasted time spinning around and stuff. And that's the thing that makes you wander into the pub at the end of the day and say something like, man, I work all day long. I'm still not caught up. Well, you're working on the wrong stuff,
that's
you
right.
know?
That's right. It's the old adage of, you set your ladder against the building, right? And you're like, all right, I'm just going to work every day. Keep climbing this ladder. Keep climbing. Like I'm going to work a little bit more. Schedule this stuff. Work, climb, work, climb. You get to the top of the ladder, Chris, and you look out and you put your damn ladder against the wrong building. Right? You're like, now what? Like I spent all this time going in a direction that really doesn't serve what I'm looking for. I don't have my goals clearly outlined. Now I have this business that I'm working 100 hours a week and I'm barely making my payroll and I'm barely taking any money. The wife's ready to leave me. The kids don't even know my name. I'm going for alcohol at the end of the day just to make all this make sense, just so I can do
Well,
one
you're
more day.
ashamed at this point, right?
Yeah.
You're ashamed because shame is what tells us that we ought to be stronger by now, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Especially if you've been in business for a few years and you still feel like you're beating your head against the wall, right? That voice in your head is going to whisper, you built this. You can't admit you hate it,
Yep.
right? Now you're
Yep.
stuck with it, right?
Yep.
So you stay silent.
Yep.
You build bigger cages instead of healthier boundaries,
Yep.
you know? And it's just a mess, right? There's
Can be.
really one cure, and it isn't pride, it's honesty.
Yeah. It's being honest with yourself and taking a look in and saying, what am I doing that makes sense? And what am I doing that's not making sense? And what are my targets? Where do I need to go? Like really getting clarity, because clarity brings confidence and confidence moves mountains. But if we're just
Yeah.
trying to stay busy, if we're just trying to look busy because we're business owners and majoring in minor things again, then that burnout is inevitable. It's not when or if, but when it's coming. The crazy thing is, Chris, we rob our families during that time. Of all that time we
Oh,
could have spent with them, we rob them from them. We go there and we take it out of that bucket and we can justify it because as men, we're providers. We can provide and we're doing stuff where this is all part of
doing what I
provision is what you
can to
tell yourself.
provide for the
Oh
family,
yeah, this is what I need to do. Just buckle down and get this done. And the craziest part is when you start time blocking, like Chris is talking about, when you start being purposeful with your schedule, magic starts to happen. Magic happens. You're like, holy crap, I got more done in one day than I used to get done in a week. And you're like, and just, all right, here, Chris, tell me if you've ever had this experience before. When you lay out your schedule for the week, right? And say it's Tuesday night, you go to bed, but you check your schedule out before you go to bed, start thinking about what's going to happen the next day. When you go to bed, your mind starts going to work. God starts working in your mind. How can we make this happen? All these seeds start getting planted. You get up that Wednesday morning and next thing you know, you're on fire. Not every Wednesday, not every time, but you're on fire. You already have the problem solved and you're ready to move forward. And by the end of Wednesday, you're like, holy crap, I got a lot done because you started that process early, not got up Wednesday morning and was like, now what do I need to do today? Like
you started the process early, you were intentional, and you focused on what was important.
Yes, exactly.
It sounds like such a simple thing, but as humans, we are full of ego and we are full of emotion that can rule our every decision.
Yeah.
And so when you take the emotions that are tied to ego, well, I mean, it's just a recipe for putting yourself on an island, convincing yourself. I don't know at this point in time, Joshua, how many business owners have you come across that have grown to $2, $3, $5 million in spite of themselves?
Yeah.
Right.
It's happened.
But it happens. It's happening. I may have worked for one of them in the past or more. Right. It's because the attention deficit, the craftsmanship doesn't match the business acumen. Right. And that's not a disparaging statement at all, because I was that same way once upon a time. I was a great craftsman. I was a terrible businessman,
Yep.
Now that I'm older and wiser and I understand what I didn't know, but back then, man, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah,
Wish I'd had somebody to teach me,
Yep. So when you're personally in that place of burnout, what was a turning point that helped you realize that you had to start working inside to fix this external problem, this business problem, right? Because but I love when I coach people, they're like, yeah, I got a business problem. I'm like, no, all problems start inside. Most of them take root from inside and they become part of a mirror into your business. So we need to work on what's going on inside and how we got to this point. So
Mhm.
how is it that what is something you can tell to our listeners that about burnout, about either some first steps or how to recognize what it is and how to make that shift?
think. I think it was when I realized that success had made me miserable. And by that, like I thought I had everything going well, right? I had good teams, good contracts, respect my coworkers, respect my clients, developing a name within the industry, but none of it felt like peace,
Yeah.
And the moment that at that moment wasn't the time that I had an aha moment. Much later, you finally admit to yourself that that was not, the priority.
Yeah.
That's what you made the priority in your egotistical decision making process, right? So the moment that I admitted that to myself, I stopped building for, I don't know, for applause, right? Like, hey, look at me and what I've done. I've got these teams that run well, and my KPIs are great, my metrics are great, properties all look good, but
Mm.
none of that really mattered because that was that work without purpose, right? To what
Yep.
purpose? To inflate my own self? Well, first of all, because of my youth, I have like terrible self-esteem. So am I compensating? I don't even know,
Yeah.
right? But it
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't really matter. When I stopped building for that applause and started rebuilding for alignment,
Mm.
and this has not been that far back in my past, but that was the beginning of freedom. So it was a definite turning point when I
Yeah.
realized that this industry doesn't have to be as hard as we let it be. It just doesn't.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's so many of us have, what I see opportunity in everything, right? I see no matter what it is. And I think, I mean, I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but I definitely can be squirrel brained at times and see lots of opportunity in things, shiny objects around. And, one of my mentors shared this with me. He said, you know what? He who chases two rabbits catches neither. And I was like, huh, interesting. I'm chasing 61 rabbits right now. So I guess I'm not going to catch any of them. So this was a while ago because I struggled with procrastination. I would procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate. And I eventually figured out how to break through that. And once I broke through procrastination, I had lots of opportunities to use my time and it wasn't being used very wisely. But I broke through the first part. So I kind of overcompensated then, like, look, I can do anything now. The problem is that I wasn't doing anything really well. I was doing the
Yeah.
things and I was burning out because I had so many things to do and I felt important and felt
You
like,
do
yeah, like
everything
everything
about 50, 60%,
at
but it's not
best.
really a passing grade, you
It's
know?
not. Nope. But I was busy, and busy
Yeah,
equaled success. And I was like, nope, that doesn't work that way. So, I was stuck. I like how Frank Bork says this and Sam, they talk about, being stuck in the $25 tasks. Oh yeah. I did like just tons of $25 tasks I would do all the time as an owner. I'm like, no, I need to upgrade to the $1,000 tasks per hour. Like, what do those things look like? Those are things I need to spend all my time on. I need to hire for the $25 an hour tasks and get that
right.
out of my way so I can start growing in a way that is most fitting for the business so that we can start focusing on things. And that's really where I broke out of the overwhelm side and the stress of it all, saying, okay, what do I need to be doing? And what can someone else do? And start delegating these things, right? Because I was stuck majoring in minor things.
Well, yeah. Well, and that's, so much of this is really kind of a control issue,
Mm.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how many times have you heard an owner say, well, I can't pull myself out of the field. I can't find anybody to do it as good as I want it done,
All
or
the time.
something along those lines, right? And so there's a nugget of info in there that's not the people that you're not finding that are the issue.
Yep, yep. Well, control is one thing, but a lot of that equals trust as well. So if you have
Trust
trust
is the
trust
key,
issues, right?
yeah,
I know I
absolutely.
did. When I first started, I'm like, nobody can do it like me. If I'm not there or I'm not doing it, it's not going to turn out well.
That
And that
circles
was,
in to one other good point. We talked about ADHD,
mm,
but while I see 80% something like that in the industry, much of it sure is ADHD in its classic sense. A lot of it is trauma scarring,
mm,
right? Trauma scarring can rear its ugly head and look like ADHD because it's weighing you down and distracting you all the time, right? High intelligence and creativity can create those symptoms as well. Regardless of what creates those symptoms, we're all living in that chaotic, creative, absent minded professor, mad scientist world, depending on what day you catch us.
yep,
And we've decided that that's just how the industry is.
yep. Yep. And that was it doesn't have to be that way.
Doesn't
It's
have
both of our points, right? As
Yeah.
I'm aging, I'm looking at it, I'm like, it doesn't have to be this way. This is a choice I'm making every single day.
Yeah.
And I want to make better choices. I want to upgrade my choices so that I can live more peace, joy, and fulfillment each and every day. And that's, again, that is another choice that we make each and every day. So, Chris, anything else you want to drop on the audience here before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I think we've covered a pretty meaty chunk today. This is good.
So listeners out there, thanks for joining us here. And a quick wrap up here is when it comes to burnout, if you're feeling a lot of burnout in your business, step back, take a look at your business as a 35,000 foot view and say, what should I be doing and what should I not be doing? What's eating all my time? I'd do a time log just for a week and just write down everything you do, like keep a journal of your time, and then look at it and say, what could I delegate? What should I keep? What are $25 an hour tasks? What are $1,000 an hour tasks? What do I need to be doing? What am I doing? And what do I want to be doing? And start putting those together. If you can at least do that, you're going to be surprised. Because both Chris and I have learned a long time ago that through pain, that we don't need to be everywhere. And if we can't trust people, it's probably because we can't trust ourselves. We need to start there. What does it take to build more trust in myself that so I can then trust other teams to do these things? And that's why there's a lot of Yep. Yep. So, everybody, next week we're going to jump into a framework that Chris has in his coaching program. It's called the Compass, and we're going to go through that piece by piece, the framework. So, guys, don't miss us next week. We got a lot of good stuff coming, and I appreciate you guys listening. What if you could close 75% of your projects without chasing, convincing, or dropping your price? That's not a dream, that's the mission. Mission 75. Here at Yes Express Sales Academy, we are spearheading a bold shift to help outdoor living contractors sell with confidence, not desperation. Because let's be real, you've been told to just give them a good price and hope for the best. You've been trained to beg for work and give away your time and compete with contractors who don't even play at your level. That ends now. I wrote the Core 10 Sales Playbook because it's the system I desperately needed 20 years ago. It's built for real-world, design-build contractors, not guys in suits. Inside, I'll show you how to qualify leads in minutes, speak to emotion, not features, cut confusion and eliminate ghosting, lead the sales call with calm authority, and close premium jobs without flinching. That book drops in January 2026. Check out the show notes to get on the list to be the first in line to grab your copy of the Core 10 Sales Playbook before they're gone. This isn't about working harder, it's about selling smarter, and it starts now. Let's raise the standard together.